Of course, the AI Armageddon is fast approaching us, but instead of being that old guy that shouts at clouds, I wanted to try to embrace the future and give my opinion on those that I think are worth your time. Let's dive straight into it. I want to start with one that you'll probably all know by now, and it's splice stacks. We've probably had this feature for a little over a year now. It does a good job of stacking random sets of samples together so you can better build a track. I want to put it right here in the middle on the list because as good as it does that AI stacking part, I just feel as a whole, Splice categorizes a lot of its samples by popularity. So oftentimes producers are all gravitating towards the similarly watered down samples on the site. And then if we're pairing those samples or stacking those samples, we're also getting similar samples representing the greater pool. So if we're not careful, we're all going to click that AI random button and come out with the same results. I feel as a musician turned producer, it's much more organic to digitally create dig manually and really craft your sound intentionally. I've used this next tool several times in my streams and videos. I think it's one of the best stem separators out there, but that's of course debated online. It's Lalau AI.
Take me on a ride. I got a good feeling. Take me home, take me to the sky. I got a good feeling.
It's frequently updated and refined, making it a valuable asset in my work week. For example, when I am working with Splice and I encounter a layered sample that doesn't have a soloed instrument version of that sample, I use Lalau to isolate the individual instrument and create a unique sample. I also use it to split apart famous songs, allowing me to better understand the harmonic content of each instrument. And additionally, it's perfect for extracting acapellas for future chopping. I'm going to place this tool near the top because it is incredibly useful, but because of the cost, it might not be viable for everybody. Next up, we have Suno AI.
Make me a song, singing with Suno AI is all about.
It's an AI music generator that creates full songs from simple prompts. I've featured it alongside Udio in the past, which shares similar concerns. These tools raise the issues around the use of plagiarized content and the question of opting out as artists. My main concern, which I want to address in an upcoming video, is that they kind of dumb down our artistic creativity. While you can generate music quickly, it lacks fulfillment. If everybody uses these for paid work, music risks becoming formulaic, leading to a repetitive and again watered down industry. I don't think any of us want that, so therefore I'm putting it right at the bottom down here. Now this is of course my list about helpful tools for producers, so I want to mention Emergent Drums. Emergent Drums uses AI to generate drum sounds and one-shots from any audio that you provide. It's a great tool for adding variety to drum hits, especially for electronic producers seeking humanistic variations. You can also generate random hits while keeping velocity and attack kind of similar. It's helpful, but is a bit slow in the workflow, so I'm going to place it near the top, I think alongside Splice Stacks, maybe Lalau. I'm gonna put it with Lalau. Next up, and going right at the top of my list, is Simplant 2. Though it was popular last year, appearing all over YouTube, we don't hear from it too much these days. And I think it's still a valuable tool for replicating one-shot samples and remains one of my personal favorites. Having the benefit of finding a one-shot, replicating it, and then stretching that out across the keyboard, I just think it's truly helpful. It doesn't necessarily need that much promotion if it does what it says on the tin. It delivers on its promise and offers a variety of options, and for that reason, I'm placing it just above Emergent Drums. But let's now talk about Synth GPT-2.
Let's say I want a flute. That's very clearly a flute. I can click through different flute options. Let's give it something a little more interesting like spacey piano. That's a spacey piano. That's pretty crazy.
This is an AI-driven plugin that uses natural language processing to design sound by simply typing in prompts. I haven't used it myself, so I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. It seemed to gain a lot of attention with the AI boom last year. It's unclear whether it generates sounds directly or uses your plugin and sample selection. Aside from the subscription model, my main concern is that this tool requires technical language, which comes from education and practice. If someone's new to production, they might not know the right terms, limiting its effectiveness. So I don't feel like this is necessarily going to speed up your workflow as a producer. I believe it could be improved with time, but this is going to remain fairly low on my list. Oh, I should mention, this video is sponsored by DistroKid. DistroKid has its own AI tools as well, which aren't featured in this list. Things like DistroPick, which will help you generate your own artwork for future releases, and Mixio, which gives you a hand in mastering your track, making sure it's nice and loud, ready for streaming services. There's links in the description for discounts. Let's get back to our episode. This next one was brought to my attention in my last live stream, the Concatenator. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And this plugin combines AI audio processing to take your sounds to new places. The demos for this were really interesting to me, showing the user drop samples into the plugin and then use their voice to simulate what the sound should be doing. I thought about this plugin as great assistive technology for anyone that might have a disability, as are the other plugins that have voice to compositional elements. But it's also really functional if your sound design chops aren't really up to par, but you have a grand sample selection. I'm looking at you, my lovely Discord members, with your thousands upon thousands of samples. I think this could go fairly high on the list. It's new, it has a lot of potential. I think we should throw it into the second place spot. Okay, let's talk about Unison MIDI tools. This is MIDI Wizard, Drum Monkey, and Bass Dragon. I think these tools are cool. If there's a string in your bow that's missing, I'm a drummer for instance, so chords aren't really my biggest forte, I think this could really help you out. So I could maybe use MIDI Wizard to generate better chord progressions and then later on tweak them to make them my own. I think the only pitfall of this is, again, producers using MIDI Wizard, Drum Monkey, and Bass Dragon all in one project, and generally creating a body of work which is not their own. However, if I was a kid getting into music production, I'd probably gravitate towards these kind of things to help me out. I just wish they didn't have this general scammy upselling feel on their ads and website. I don't know if you feel the same. It just makes me initially distrustful of their model. I'm not necessarily the target audience, and for that and the reasons mentioned above, I'm going to throw it somewhere in the middle here, maybe like the B list. Yeah, it's not as bad as Synth GPT. I'm going to throw it in the B list. Ava is an AI composer that generates entire compositions in various genres, not like Suno or Udio.
So let's give a listen to the first one, just a couple seconds. Okay, our next track.
It's especially useful for producers who need background music for videos or help with creating orchestral compositions. I included Ava in a previous AI video I created a year or two ago. It's a great tool, but generally is quite clunky and slow. Perhaps if you were less of a producer but had some musical knowledge and needed some material for your day job, this could save you some time. So I'm going to throw this, in the B list. Next up is one I'm sure tons of you have heard of or use in your workflow. It's Ozone 11. This mastering suite has been around for a while, which I think helps it settle nearer the top of the AI tools we trust. It's become even more powerful in the last couple of years. This AI-assisted mastering tool analyzes your track as a whole and suggests the perfect settings to get it ready for release. At least that's what they advertise. I always feel like I can hear an Ozone mastered track because it will often make the track incredibly bright and trebly at first, which some producers leave completely as is. But I think if you have a little bit of production knowledge of loudness and EQ, I think it's the perfect tool to help you get on track to mastering your own work. I think I'm going to put this one right at the top. I think it's terrific. Next up in the kind of plugin chain mixing mastering world is Waves Studio Rack. This is a modular plugin that lets you combine multiple Waves plugins and load them as a single instance. Now, of course, I'm only speaking to the folks that actually use Wave plugins, but if you do, it's perfect for quickly trying out different processing chains and setting up complex signal flows. You just allow it to analyze the instrument playing and it'll suggest different chains. Something great is that it automatically sets up macros for the things you're most likely going to want to adjust. I want to put this near the top because I don't know about you, but as of late, I've just been using Waves tools less and less. I've got it down to like RBass, H-Comp, and then the vocal tuner. It's kind of it. Speaking of isotope earlier, we can't forget Neutron's track assistant. People often ask what the difference is between Neutron and Ozone. Ozone is focused more on mastering, whereas Neutron is oriented around individual tracks. This tool uses AI to listen to your tracks and suggest the best settings. It's kind of like the isotope version of Waves Studio Rack. It's kind of tough where to place this one because it's a little bit more basic than Waves, but I think it's more universally friendly and will get the job done. I think I'm just gonna have to put this one up here as well, but I'd gladly put it in the first place position for myself. Or maybe Waves should go in the B list and then Neutron should go in the second place position. I feel like you guys might side with me a little bit more there, but anyway, of course I want to mention a couple of extra tools that didn't hit my list. With all this isotope stuff, I think you should definitely check out Isotope RX. I think the editor is going to be really handy in your sessions for anything denoise and de-reverb. But also there are a lot of audiences divided in all the recent voice to AI language stuff too. I'm not sure if that's the right term, but you basically sing your own lyrics into your DAW, export them, put them into this AI language tool, and then select Beyonce, for instance, and it'll be an AI recreation that sounds like Beyonce replicating your voice. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's kind of cool, but I just think that there's a ton of companies doing it right now, and a lot of it sounds really cheap. I probably have a different company reach out to me each week to sponsor the channel with this AI voice stuff. So that makes me feel like it's a little bit of a scam and easy to replicate as well. So just be careful with your data when trying out these websites. Is there anything else on this list that should have absolutely been mentioned? Let me know in the comments. And I hope you have a fantastic year of music creation ahead. Keep me posted on what you want to see in the future. Subscribe, and I'll catch you next time. Oh, and if you hear that tune coming in, there's a new beat battle going down on the Discord to create the new theme tune for Inspired By. If you want to get involved in that, then the information is of course over at the Discord. I look forward to hearing your beats.
That's